Have you ever felt like you're doing everything right? Reading the books, watching the motivational videos, setting goals, trying to improve your life, but somehow you still feel stuck? Like there's an invisible force pulling you backward every time you try to evolve? What if I told you the greatest obstacle in your life isn't your circumstances, isn't your lack of talent, isn't your past, but the voice inside your own head? Because every single day, there's a conversation happening inside you, a hidden narrative, a constant stream of thoughts shaping your identity, habits, confidence, and future. And most people never question it. They obey it. That internal dialogue becomes the operating system of their life. It determines how much risk they take, how disciplined they become, how they handle failure, how they view themselves when nobody's watching. And if that inner dialogue is toxic, fearful, self-defeating, then no strategy in the world will save you. Because you cannot outperform the identity your mind keeps repeating. Today, we're going deep. We're exposing the psychological warfare happening inside your own mind and learning how to transform your internal dialogue from a destructive enemy into the ultimate engine for peak lifestyle performance. Let's begin. Most people think performance is physical. Wake up early, go to the gym, eat healthy, work harder. But elite performance starts mentally. Before every action, there's a thought. Before every habit, there's a belief. Before every transformation, there's a conversation happening internally. Your inner dialogue creates your reality. Think about it. Two people can face the exact same challenge. One says, "I'll figure this out." The other says, "I always fail." Same obstacle. Different internal language. Different outcome. That's because the brain listens to repetition more than truth. Your nervous system doesn't care whether a thought is empowering or destructive. If repeated enough, it becomes familiar. And familiarity becomes identity. This is why so many people sabotage themselves unconsciously. They want growth externally, but internally, they're reinforcing limitation every single day. I'm too late. I'm not disciplined. I'll never change. People like me don't succeed. I always quit. At first, these seem like harmless thoughts. But over time, they become commands. And your brain starts organizing your behavior around them. This is the danger of unconscious self-talk. You begin living inside a psychological prison you built yourself. And the worst part? You don't even realize it's happening. Here's something most people never understand. Your brain is designed for survival, not greatness. It prefers certainty over possibility, comfort over transformation, familiar pain over unfamiliar growth. That internal critic, it's not trying to help you thrive. It's trying to keep you safe. Safe from embarrassment. Safe from rejection. Safe from failure. But safety is often the enemy of peak performance. Because every major breakthrough requires discomfort. Every transformation requires uncertainty. Every elevated lifestyle demands a new identity. And the moment you try to evolve, your inner dialogue fights back. You decide to become disciplined. Your mind whispers, "You never stay consistent." You start a business. Your mind says, "Who do you think you are?" You try to improve your health. Your mind reminds you of every previous failure. This is psychological resistance. And most people surrender to it instantly. Not because they lack potential, but because they mistake internal fear for truth. Listen carefully. A thought is not a fact. Just because your mind says something doesn't mean it's real. And learning to separate your awareness from your thoughts is one of the most powerful skills you will ever develop. Imagine your mind like a radio station. Most people are unconsciously tuned into a frequency of fear, doubt, insecurity, comparison, and self-criticism. And because they hear it constantly, they think it's normal. But what happens when you change the frequency? What happens when your internal dialogue becomes intentional? Everything changes. Because the quality of your life is deeply connected to the quality of your internal language. Elite athletes understand this. High performers understand this. Successful entrepreneurs understand this. They guard their inner dialogue obsessively, not because they're delusional, but because they know the mind follows instruction. Your words shape your nervous system. If you constantly tell yourself you're exhausted, overwhelmed, broken, incapable, or doomed, your body responds accordingly. But when your internal language becomes precise, objective, and empowering, your physiology changes too. Confidence rises, focus sharpens, energy increases, action becomes easier. This is why self-talk is not motivational fluff. It's neurological conditioning. Let's talk about one of the biggest killers of peak lifestyle performance: identity attachment. Most people are addicted to an outdated version of themselves. They continue repeating narratives that no longer serve them. I'm shy. I'm lazy. I'm not confident. I'm bad with money. I'm not disciplined. Notice something important. These aren't observations. They're identity statements. And identity is powerful because the brain constantly tries to remain consistent with who it believes you are. If you believe you're lazy, your mind will resist disciplined action. If you believe you're incapable, you'll unconsciously avoid opportunities that challenge that belief. This is why changing habits without changing identity rarely lasts. You cannot sustainably perform at a level your identity rejects. That's why the first transformation must happen internally. You must stop speaking to yourself like the old version of you. Because every time you repeat an outdated identity, you reinforce it neurologically. And eventually, your life reflects it physically. So how do we fix this? How do we rewire our inner dialogue? Step 1. Audit the narrative. Most people never observe their thoughts objectively. They just react automatically. But awareness changes everything. For the next 7 days, pay attention to how you speak to yourself, especially during stress, failure, discomfort, fatigue, rejection. That's when the real programming appears. Ask yourself, would I speak to someone I love this way? Because many people are verbally abusive to themselves internally, and they wonder why they lack confidence externally. You cannot build an empowered life with a self-destructive inner voice. Awareness is the first interruption. Step 2. Eliminate absolute language. Words like always, never, impossible, ruined, hopeless. These words trap the nervous system. They create emotional paralysis. Instead of saying, I always fail, say, I'm learning consistency. Instead of, I'm terrible at this, say, I'm improving through repetition. This isn't fake positivity. It's strategic language. Objective self-talk reduces emotional distortion, and emotional clarity improves performance. Step 3. Replace emotional reactions with performance-based thinking. Peak performers don't ask, how do I feel? They ask, what produces results? This changes everything. Because emotions fluctuate constantly, but systems create stability. Instead of saying, I don't feel motivated, say, what action aligns with the person I'm becoming? That single shift moves you from emotional living to intentional living. And intentional living creates momentum. Now let's talk about mental friction. Mental friction is the invisible resistance between intention and execution. You want to wake up early, but your mind negotiates. You want to work out, but your thoughts create excuses. You want to improve, but your internal dialogue drains your energy before action even begins. This is why overthinking destroys performance. The more internal conflict exists, the more exhausted you become mentally. Peak performers reduce friction. They simplify decisions, simplify focus, simplify self-talk. They stop debating with themselves constantly. Because every unnecessary mental argument drains cognitive energy. Your mind becomes stronger when your internal commands become clearer. Here's another truth nobody wants to hear. Your inner dialogue is heavily influenced by your environment, the people you listen to, the content you consume, the conversations you tolerate. If your environment constantly reinforces fear, negativity, victimhood, gossip, comparison, and pessimism, your internal dialogue absorbs it. Eventually, you start speaking to yourself in the same destructive tone. This is why protecting your mental environment matters. Your mind is programmable, and modern society is competing aggressively for your attention. Social media, news cycles, algorithms, toxic relationships, all feeding narratives into your subconscious. If you don't consciously choose your inputs, your mind becomes shaped by default. And default programming rarely creates greatness. Let's go deeper. One of the most dangerous forms of inner dialogue is comparison-based thinking. You look at someone else's success, and your mind immediately attacks you. They're ahead of me. I'm falling behind. I wasted my life. I'll never catch up. This creates psychological exhaustion. Because comparison shifts your focus away from growth and toward inadequacy. But peak lifestyle performance requires internal alignment. You cannot perform powerfully while constantly invalidating yourself mentally. Remember this, someone else's success is not evidence of your failure. Your timeline is different. Your path is different. Your evolution is different. Stop measuring your life against edited snapshots online. Most people are performing happiness publicly while collapsing privately. Protect your focus. Protect your identity. Protect your mind. Now let's talk about the most powerful transformation of all, becoming the observer. This changes everything. Most people are fused with their thoughts. If the mind says, "You're worthless," they believe it instantly. But awareness creates separation. Instead of saying, "I am a failure," you begin saying, "I notice my mind producing fear." That separation weakens emotional control. You stop becoming the thought and start observing it. This is emotional intelligence at its highest level. The ability to witness your internal dialogue without obeying it automatically. And once you develop this skill, your life changes permanently. Because now you can consciously choose your response. Let's make this practical. Here's a daily exercise that can transform your mindset over time. Every morning, ask yourself 3 questions. What kind of mindset do I want to embody today? What thoughts will sabotage me if left unchecked? What language aligns with my highest self? Then throughout the day, interrupt destructive thoughts immediately. Not emotionally, objectively, like a scientist observing patterns. Over time, this builds mental discipline, and mental discipline creates behavioral discipline, which creates lifestyle transformation. The truth is, peak lifestyle performance isn't about becoming superhuman. It's about removing internal resistance. Most people already know what they need to do. Sleep better, train consistently, focus deeply, stop procrastinating, protect their energy, take action. The real battle is internal. And until you master your inner dialogue, you will continue fighting yourself endlessly. But once your mind becomes aligned with your goals, everything accelerates. Action feels lighter. Confidence feels natural. Habits become easier. Discipline becomes identity. Because now, your mind is no longer working against you. It's finally working for you. So the next time you hear that inner critic speaking, pause, observe it, question it. Because you are not the voice in your head. You are the awareness listening to it. And the moment you stop obeying destructive internal narratives, you reclaim your power. Your inner dialogue can either become a prison or the foundation of your evolution. The choice is yours. So choose carefully, because every word you repeat internally is shaping the person you become. And your future is listening. If this video spoke to you, make sure you subscribe, like the video, and share it with someone who needs to hear this. And remember, your life changes the moment your inner dialogue does.